Today we'll be creating this garage from scratch, as well as a floor plan and elevations all put onto a title block. We'll take it step by step from the slab to the walls, the roof and the gutters, the windows and the doors, as well as a little extra site context just to make the isometric pop. You won't need any prior experience. We'll be starting right from the beginning. We'll start by creating a new project, selecting the generic template. We'll click New. To make sure that we're all looking at the same thing, we'll want to go up to Options, then we'll go to Work Environment, then click on Work Environment again. We'll click to Work Environment Profiles, and we'll just double click this Architectural Basic Profile 27. We'll click Apply, and then we'll click OK. This just means our user interface is all the same. So whenever I click on something, we'll be clicking on the same thing. As a reference, feel free to screenshot this plan just here because we'll be using its dimensions. First thing we want to do is to click on the slab tool just over here. Anywhere within the white screen, we want to click once and then drag our mouse outward. From here, what we can do is click the Tab key. This will allow us to enter in our dimensions. So for dimension 1, we'll go 10,000, which will be 10 meters. Then if we press Tab once more, we can type in our second dimension. So we're going to type in 7,000, which is going to be 7 meters. We'll hit the Enter key, and now you've created your first slab. If you're on a PC, click F3, or if you're on a Mac, function F3. And from here, we'll see our slab in 3D. If we hold the middle mouse button just here and press down, while holding in the Shift key, we can orbit around the slab, which allows us to navigate through the 3D space. If I scroll using the middle mouse wheel, I'll zoom in on this slab, and we get a perspective on what we've just created. We'll press F2, or function F2 if you're on a Mac, and we're back into our floor plan view. Now, I want you to take a screenshot of all these shortcuts just here. We'll be using these to navigate through ArchiCAD really quickly and effectively. So if I say go to our 3D view, you'll see the shortcut just on that right-hand side, say F3, or if we go back to our 2D, we'll go F2. And we've got the Mac equivalent just down below. These are the most common, and I use them for every single project. So take a screenshot or write them down, as they're going to make you so much more effective while you're using ArchiCAD. Now, back to our slab. If we now go to the wall tool, this one just up here, you'll notice at the top here, we've got a bunch of new options that just popped up. We'll have a play with these in a second, but to get our first wall drawn in, let's click up the top left-hand corner and then drag our wall down just by moving our mouse till we get to the bottom left-hand corner. And we'll click one more time. And we've created our first wall. Let's go into 3D, and it's right there too. Let's go back to the floor plan, hitting F2, and we'll repeat this for the remaining walls. Once we see this little tick in the bottom left-hand corner, we'll know that we're right on that node that we need to click so that the wall is directly over that slab. So we'll click and drag it on across until we see the pencil turn black, and we'll click once more. We've got our second wall in. Let's repeat that process all the way up until it hits to the top. And you'll see just underneath, it mentions that it's at 90 degrees. We always want to be drawing at 0, 90 degrees, or 180 degrees, just so that we're always straight with our walls when we're drawing simple structures, so that all the measurements are accurate that we're going to add in later. We'll click once more. Now, to make sure that your walls are straight, what we can do is if we click this node just here and we drag our wall across, we've currently got it at a slight angle, but if we hold in the Shift key, it's locked it at 160 degrees. If I release the Shift key, it's going to allow me to drag it around again. So if I bring it down closer to where this line is just here, then I'll hold in the Shift key, it's going to lock it at that 180 degrees, which is exactly what we want. So it's always best practice to be holding in the Shift key once you've actually started that command, so that we're at the correct angle. Let's drag it across while we've got the Shift key held down, and we'll click once more once we're right on the edge of the node. If you're having a hard time clicking the right node, always best to zoom in so you're quite close to what you're actually drawing. So from here, we'll click, and we've got our 4 walls. Let's go to our 3D. We'll pan on up holding Shift and the middle mouse button. And just as quick as that, we've got our walls and our slab for our shed. Let's go back to our 2D, F2. Now, I want my walls to be a simpler type of structure. So if I click on my wall, it's going to give me those settings that we had just before when we activated the tool originally. Now, I want to do this change to all the walls at the same time. So what I can do, holding in Shift, then hovering over the top of the other wall, if I click, it's going to allow me to select 2 walls at once. Or if I hold in Shift and keep selecting, I'll be able to select the remaining walls. So I've got all 4 selected. I can change everything all at the one time. So from here, we'll go up to our setting dialog just under where it says structure. Now on this structure just here, I want to change this to basic. So that's going to massively simplify our actual wall. From here, I don't want those dashed lines. So what I can do, I can select where it says concrete block structural, just here. And instead, I'm going to go to something, say, like aluminium, just up the top here. I'll click on this one. And now all of my walls have a solid fill on the inside. Now, to make our plans look even more aesthetic, what we can do down this bottom corner just here, just below our plan, if we click just where it has this little pen icon just here, if we click right next to it, we can click on black and white. Looks so much better already. If you don't have the black and white setting available for your pens, it's okay, we can still model up the entire shed and fix that up later. We can also change the pens in the 3D setting here as well. So if we go to pen black and white, we'll notice all the pens change here as well. Let's go back to our floor plan, F2. And from here, we want to draw in our roof. By clicking on the roof tool just here, we'll go up to geometry method and we'll select geometry method multi-plane. Now, if you want to see these little helpful tip icons that pop up, you'll want to click on help, then click show tool tips. All right, so geometry method, we're going to go multi-plane. This one just to the right-hand side. We'll click our bottom left-hand corner, and just like with our slab, we can click and drag this out all the way until we click on our top right-hand corner just here. Doesn't matter which corner we start from, but as long as we click and drag it from one corner to the other, and then click, we've now got our roof, but it's covering up our floor plan. And if we go into our 3D, it's sitting at the wrong place. So what we can do, now with our roof selected, if we click on linked stories, instead of ground, we'll want to select this to first. And once we click, we'll notice the roof is lifted up. And if we go back to our floor plan, we've now got the roof showing as an outline on top, but we can still see our walls. Now, this doesn't really look much like a shed because it's a hip roof over the top of the rectangular walls. We'll want to change this so it's a gable roof. This is really easy to do. If we go to our floor plan, if we click on this corner just here, now on our pet palette, which is the little thing that pops up when you click something in ArchiCAD, just here, we want to stretch horizontal ridge. We'll drag this one out until we line it up with the exterior of the wall, that blue line that runs all the way around the wall. We'll click on that one. And if we go into our 3D view, we'll notice it's now turned that ridge into a gable. So if we go back to our floor plan, we'll select our other hip roof just here, and we'll click that one out. We'll line that one up, and we'll click on that top node just there. We'll go to our 3D view, hitting F3. And now if we pan around in our 3D view, this thing's starting to look a lot more like a shed. If we click on our roof, and up in the top settings just here, if we go across to the right, now if you can't see these settings on the right because your screen is too small, if we scroll the middle mouse button, it's going to allow us to access and see more tools once we've got something selected. So if you can't see it, just scroll until you can find it. What I want you to do is scroll until you find eave overhang, this one just here. So we're going to change this eave overhang from this 550 that it's automatically got set up. Going to change that to 0 and hit enter. It's going to pop up with this warning just here, asking if we want to keep our custom roof lines. So when we change those ridges, that's made the roof so that it's custom. So yes, we want to keep those custom, so we'll go OK. And from there, we've removed those eaves off the side. Feel free to keep them if you want, but for this example, we're going 0 eave for this shed. So we'll go back to our floor plan view, and we'll notice that these eaves are slightly overhanging on the actual floor plan. So what we can do with the roof selected, so if we select that, if we select on this edge and drag, the pet palette will pop up, and this will allow us to modify and change the shape of the roof. So if I go across to this one just here, which is offset edge, if I click on this and drag it back in line with the face of that wall just there, that's going to allow us to reduce the eave manually for this roof back to 0. So if I go back to my 3D view, I'll notice I've got 0 eaves for the entire roof. Now, if I pan around, I've got some pretty big holes just underneath where the gable is. We'll want to patch those up. This is pretty easy to do in 3D. So if we click on the face of this wall just here, and then we pan around and select our other wall just here, holding in shift so we can select 2 things at once. I want to be able to change the height of this wall. To do this, I'll go to the settings. So just up this top left-hand corner here, if I click on this settings dialog or hit Control T to open up the settings, I'll be given these options. From here, I want to delink this so that I can make those walls taller. So just on this dialog here, where it says top link, I'll change that to not linked and go OK. Now, nothing's changed, but what this has allowed me to do in this dialog just here on the top settings, or within the settings just here, just below, I can now change the height of these walls. So if I say go 6,000, so doubling that height, I can go OK. And we've raised those walls up past where that roof is. So we want to crop those walls to that roof. With those still selected, we want to right click in an open space. We'll go to connect and we'll go to solid element operations. The solid element operations dialog box will pop up. So from here, we want to make our walls the target. Like we're aiming at a target and we're about to shoot. Go add as a target. Now our roof is what we want our walls to be cropped to. So it's going to be the operator. It's going to be the one that's doing the damage. So we'll go add as operator. Now instead of subtraction, we want to go subtraction with upward extrusion. So basically what that means, it's going to crop off the walls above where that roof plane is. All sounds complicated, but once we hit the button, it'll make so much more sense. So if we go execute and then click in the empty space, we've now cropped those walls to the top of that roof. And we're starting to look more and more like a shed. From here, we'll want to get some windows and some doors into the shed. So let's go to our floor plan, F2, hit escape to deactivate our current tool, and we're going to go to the door tool. We'll go up to our settings dialog just up here. We'll see a bunch of different doors that we can choose from. Now, we don't want any of these kind of doors just yet. We want a garage door. Up the top left hand just here, if we scroll on down, we'll see if it's all closed up here, say in the ArchiCAD 27 library. If we open, then open this one just here where it says doors, we can go to garage doors 27. From here, we've got a bunch of different doors to choose from. For this exercise, we're going to go with overhead garage door 27. For the door style, we'll go to style 1. Now, when I change the setting here, you'll notice it hasn't really changed in this 2D view here. But if we click on this 3D just here, it's going to show us the element changing as we change some of the settings. If we go into this setting just here, and then we go to door leaf. Now, I want to simplify how it looks a little bit in our 3D view. So when it says detail level, I want to change this one to simplified, which is going to change it more to a panel lift type of door. From here, I can go OK. And when I hover my mouse over the wall, it's going to allow me to place that door inside of the wall. But I want this centered inside of that wall. So what I can do, in the settings up the top here, before I place my wall, if I go to anchor point just here, and if I select center, this one just here, so now I'll hover my mouse down over the wall, over the exterior. When that little X pops up, I'll click. It'll have a little door action opening symbol. I want to anchor that one to the inside. So I want to bring my mouse towards the inside of the garage and click once again. And now if we click into our 3D, we've got a door, a very tiny little door, but this is easy to change. What we want to do, we'll select this door. We'll change its parameters under size to say something like 5,500. And we'll click enter. And we're going to change the height to say 2,700 and we'll go enter. There we go. That looks much more proportional. I'll go back into my 2D view. We'll notice that it's updated here as well. A lot of things in ArchiCAD you can do in the 2D view or in the 3D view. Sometimes it's more accurate to do in the floor plan. Sometimes it's more intuitive to do it in the 3D view, like when we're doing element operations, cropping one thing to another. Now, my walls are a little bit thick here. So what I can do to change this, if I just select my walls, holding in shift and clicking on each of my walls, I want to change this so it's 90, a typical stud width. Just under wall thickness up here, if I select this number and go 90 and then hit enter, it's going to change the width of all of those walls. Now from here, we want some more doors. We want personal access doors so that we don't have to open up the garage door every single time. So going into our floor plan, if we select on the door tool again and go to our settings, this time, instead of garage doors, we'll want to go to hinged doors. If we scroll on down, we'll notice door 27. If we select this one, we'll now be able to change the parameters of this door. Just match it up with what I'm about to do. If we go to the door leaf, we change it to style 1. We've now got a solid core door, but it's got architraves around the outside. To change this, I'll click on this dialog just here, and I'm going to go to fixtures and fittings, where it says casing architrave, 2 words for the same thing. If we click off the outside and click off the inside, we're going to be left with this door. Now, these aren't the materials we're going to be using, but we're going to change these later on. So from here, we'll go OK. Now I'm able to place this door just like I did with the garage door. So I'll place this one just in here. And this time, depending on where I point my mouse, it's going to open the door out to the left, right, and vice versa. Where you click your mouse on the second time is going to impact where the door is going to swing. We can change this after, so it's no big deal. So I'll swing this one in towards the garage door, holding my mouse towards the garage door. If I did want to change this, I could just click on the door. Now with the door selected, if I tap Control M or Command M on a Mac, And if I click in the center of this door, it's going to flip that door around, changing the action. Or if I want to flip it out towards the outside, I can tap Control E, which is going to flip it the other way. And again, if I tap Control M, click the center, it's going to allow me to flip that door the other way. But let's go undo, just back to our original. Now, if we go to our settings, our door leaf at the moment is nominal size and tolerance. Typically, I always run with leaf dimensions. And our typical door leaf, a typical door opening, is going to be 820 mil. So we'll go that and we'll go OK. So we've got the 820 just up here, and I could change the height to say 2040, which again is a typical height, or 2100. Now, because I've placed this door, so I don't have to go through that entire process changing all the settings that we just changed, using the eyedropper tool, holding in Alt or Command on a Mac, I can now click on this door and it's got all those settings. Click on this wall just over here. It's going to have all those parameters already all finished up and done for me. So if we go into our 3D view, we've now got our doors in our garage. Next up, we want our window, which is very similar to the door. So if we go to Window and then go to our settings, we'll go to our ArchiCAD library, Windows, go to Windows, and then we'll go to Sliding Windows 27. We'll go to 2-window, and from here, we've got our window. I'm going to change this so it's just single sliding. I'm going to change the size to, say, 2100. I'll click OK, just down the bottom right. And just hovering my mouse over the wall, I'll place this into our wall and click on outside. If I go into our 3D, I'll be able to see our window as well as a door. The head height of this window is a little bit higher than we've got for our door. See how they're not quite lining up there at the moment? So to change the head height of our window, where it says sill and header settings, just here, I can click. And typically I go header to wall base. I click on this one and that tells me how high from this point just at the top of the window to the base of the wall it is. So instead of 2400, I could change this, say, to 2100 and click OK. And now that's going to line up with our 2100 high door. So we've got our slab, our walls, roof, and some openings. To get our shed looking a little bit more like this, with sheeting and materials on the outside that match up. So if I start off by selecting all 4 of my walls, I can do this in floor plan or in my 3D view. And that one. From here, I want to change the external surface. So I can go to surface just over here on our top panel. Now, if you can't see it, just scroll within here until you can find the surface. Now, I want you to click this left-hand side just here until it allows you to override that surface. From here, it'll allow us to actually change this surface. So if I click where it says stucco yellow rough, just here at the moment, and I type in COR for corrugated, it's going to give me these 2 material options just here. If I go to corrugated sheet mat just here and click, we've now got those external walls with a corrugated look. It looks a little bit big. So to change this, I'm just going to select one of the walls. I'll go up to options. I'll go to element attributes and I'll go to surfaces. I can actually change the surface. So if I click in search surfaces and I go to COR for corrugated, it's got a little tick and a green highlight with the wall material that we've got selected. So if I select on this one, I'm now going to change the proportion of this external sheeting. So if I select this and change it, say, to 2000, it's going to shrink that material down. And because that's linked, it's going to do it vertically and horizontally, so it all still matches up. So from here, if I go OK, oh, look at that, so much better already. So if we zoom on out, we've got that corrugate on all the external walls. Now we want to do this for the roof too. So just by clicking on the top of the roof, I'll scroll on over until we get to surface. We'll click on that top surface. We'll change this one to, you guessed it, COR for corrugate, and we'll click on corrugated sheet mat, this one just here. We'll click outside, and we've now got it for our walls as well as our roof. Now we've got this little line just underneath the roof here at the moment. I'm going to want to change the roof so it's a more basic form. Under structure, I'm going to change this to this one just here. And that's going to make it more simple instead of multiple layers. It's going to be the one plane of roof. Now we don't want a timber barge board or fascia around the sides. We'll want this as steel. So again, I'll go to the surface. I'll click around this edge one just here. It's going to paint all those edges. I want this to be like a nice gray. So if I click in here and I type in PAINT, we've got paint and we've got all these paints to choose from. So if I go to paint, say light gray, there we go. Much, much better. I'm going to do the same thing with the slab. So if I select the slab, instead of having it separated by those 2 different parts, I'm going to change this structure to a simple structure. And that's all going to be the one core element there now. So if I pan on around And look how it's all coming together. It's starting to take shape. But if we zoom in, we're going to notice that on these edges, the materials aren't matching up. The surfaces don't look the same.